Hey everyone, it's Jessica Miller-Merrill. Excited to be talking today about remote proctoring as part of our series and ongoing resource for HR, soon to be certified HR pros, that's you. We've had a lot of questions the last few weeks about remote proctoring and what to expect. So I have a fantastic interview. We'll go ahead and get started here for you. The pandemic has really changed our world in every aspect, and this holds true for the HR profession and how HR leaders can test for their HR certification exams. Earlier this year, SHRM and HRCI began offering a remote proctor option. You probably remember the announcement. We've had a lot of questions from our community of HR pros who are working to test and take their exam. Today, I'm really excited to be talking with Pat Byrd. She's from SHRM, and she's here to answer your SHRM-CP and SCP remote proctoring questions. Pat Byrd, you are the Director of Certification Relations with the Society for Human Resource Management. Welcome to the conversation today. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you, Jessica. I'm excited to be here as well.
Awesome. Well, let's get started. And I wanted to ask, for students who are going to be taking the exam via remote proctor, what does this look like for them? What can they expect?
So for the most part, testing using the remote proctoring option is similar to testing in a test center. And what I mean by that is you get the same test in the same time frame, under the same security conditions, and with the same levels of service and support. The difference is all of this is happening in your home or in any other remote location of your choosing. Now, obviously, this makes for a different experience because the control of the equipment, internet connectivity, and environmental conditions are on you. What that means is if you need support in any of those areas, you're the one that's going to provide that support. In addition, any assistance that you'll need during testing will be delivered to you virtually. So that's the experience of remote proctor testing.
I wanted to ask you about technology, because normally in the testing center, it's all delivered to us right there, like you were saying. But what type of technology is needed to take the exam via remote proctor?
Okay. And pardon me, I'm going to read from my list because there's a lot of little things that I want to make you aware of. First of all, obviously a desktop or laptop computer. It can be a PC or a Mac with a single monitor, no dual monitors. Now, if you use a Mac, be aware that you may run into some firewall challenges. I own a Mac, and so I know Mac and PC-based platforms often don't play well together. So just be aware that you could run into some challenges in those areas that could interfere with testing. Just want to make sure our Mac users know about that. Because remote proctoring requires audio and visual compatibility, you'll need a microphone and an internal or external webcam. If the webcam is external, it needs to be attached to your computer. That way, when you're working with the proctor, they can have a wide view of your room. Your laptop or desktop has to have a separate power source. And what I mean by that is no docking. So particularly for our laptops. A minimum screen resolution of 1024 by 768 is required. And for the operating system, a Windows 7 or higher or Mac OS 10.13 or higher is required. You also need the current version of Google Chrome as your web browser. And last but not least, reliable and stable internet connectivity. And I really want to stress this because the #1 problem when it comes to remote proctor testing is bad internet. Let's keep that in mind.
So what I hear you saying, because we've had a couple questions that have come in, so no dual monitors.
Correct.
And then no docking stations.
Correct.
Okay, and probably the better recommendation versus working Wi-Fi while you're taking the test is, if you can, to be plugged in directly to your internet using, your wired cord.
Absolutely. You want to get the strongest connection that you possibly can. And that brings me to another little tip. You may want to, on test day, couple things. Make sure that no one else is streaming or using your internet. You want to make it all yours on that day. And another thing you might do prior is check with your internet service provider to make sure that there isn't going to be any unplanned blackouts or anything like that with your internet. So everything is stable.
Good tips, good tips. Now, what happens if while you're taking the exam, you need support? Maybe before the exam or then during the exam, if you have challenges or questions or you're experiencing issues.
Okay, so prior to committing to the option, we ask you to run a systems check. And that's to make sure that your system is compatible with our test administrator's system. If you take the systems check and it turns out your system's not compatible, go take the test in a test center. It's really that simple. If while you're testing you run into problems, a proctor is there to help you. And that's, the name of this whole process is remote proctoring. The proctor is the person is there to observe you through the testing process, but also to provide you with support. So you can reach them obviously through your microphone, because they'll be able to talk with you, or via a chat feature that's in the testing platform. Or if you lose full connectivity, then we encourage you to use your smartphone to reach out to them. Now, there are some rules regarding the use of phone. In other words, you can't have your phone in the room with you while you're testing, but if you lose connectivity, then you can leave the room to try to reach out to the proctor. So just keep that in mind.
That's good to know. We have had some other questions from some of our students, and they were asking about during the test, can you have things like maybe scratch paper, or could you go on bathroom breaks during your exam via remote proctoring?
Okay. So again, the rules from remote proctoring aren't that different than as in-person testing. As it relates to scratch paper, you're allowed to use scratch paper, but there are rules regarding the use. For instance, only 2 sheets. And once the test is done, there is a process that the proctor will ask you to go through to destroy those notes. So just kind of keep that in mind, that you'll be walked through that. Now, I have some sort of a news flash for you. Coming very soon, just for remote proctoring, we'll be doing away with scratch paper and providing a scratch pad through the platform instead. So that way you don't have to bring any paper in. The pad is available through the platform, and anything you want to write on it, you can. When the test is over, you close down your browser, all of that goes away. As it relates to breaks, and we've had this question as well, use of headphones or headsets and things like reading out loud. Again, the exact same rules as in a test center. You're permitted 1 15-minute optional break at any time during the exam. Just be aware that the clock keeps ticking when you take that break. In the remote proctored situation, in order to take the break, you need to notify the proctor so that the proctor knows that you need to leave the room. So everything will be square. You leave, you come back from your break, and then the test is resumed. With respect to headphones and headsets, headphones are allowed, headsets are allowed as long as they are fully functional. And what I mean by that is you can hear the proctor and the proctor can hear you. Fair. And then last but not least, some people have asked the question about sort of talking out loud, asking the questions out loud. Unfortunately, that is not permitted. So no talking to yourself out loud or whispering the questions, none of that is permitted.
Okay, that's good to know, because we've had a few students who do like that method. So they'll just need to practice up before the exam and not be reading questions aloud.
Yeah.
So once they take their exam and they have completed it, Do students receive a preliminary pass or fail once they're done?
Absolutely. Same as in-person testing. When the test is finished, you get this preliminary results, providing you with a pass or fail. And then you get your final results approximately 4 to 6 weeks after that period.
I am excited that we get the preliminary pass, because when I took my first HR certification exam, it was at the university, and it was with the paper and the bubbles, and I didn't know if I'd passed or not until 4 to 6 weeks. So this is great.
No, you kind of know right away where you stand, and I think that makes the world a difference.
Is there anything else I missed that maybe you'd like to share?
Yeah, just a few words of advice. So keep in mind that remote proctoring isn't for everyone. And deciding if it's right for you requires some consideration beyond the obvious technical and environmental factors. If you're the type person that is self-reliant, tech savvy, and can exercise a degree of tolerance and patience if minor technical glitches should arise, and I got to tell you, we know technology, it often happens, then this might be the option for you. On the other hand, if you prefer a more controlled situation where all you have to do is get to the test center, check in, sit down, and test, then you're going to want to go to an in-person test center.
I agree. I mean, you need to be comfortable with technology to be able to troubleshoot whatever situation might arise in order to be able to really, I think, perform well with all the other factors and stress that you have going on for the remote proctor exam.
And, you know, and to that point, just staying calm. You know, again, that being tech savvy says a lot. Knowing that technology isn't 100% and doesn't always go the way we'd like it to, being able to sort of embrace that and go with the flow and be calm is the key here.
Awesome. Well, Pat, thank you so much for taking the time to join us and talk with us today and answer a lot of our student questions about SHRM's new and ongoing remote proctor process. Are there any resources you could point us to if we have more questions?
Absolutely. So everything I covered is on our website at SHRM-Certification.org. SHRM Certification is all one word, lowercase. You want to go to the Apply Testing Locations Optimized Testing Experience page. And there you'll find information about in-person testing as well as remote proctor testing. And on the remote proctor testing side, at the very bottom, there's a link to a very comprehensive list of FAQs. I encourage everybody to take a look at those FAQs because it answers everything that I've gone over and more.
Awesome. And we'll link to that, but it's SHRMcertification.org. Lots of great resources there. We'll link to the remote proctor resources for our students as well. Thank you, Pat.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate it.
It is my pleasure, and good luck to all of you.